Hi, this is Marcel on Tech, and today we're talking about the Google Pixel 6 Pro. This is the flagship device from Google. It is the best of what they've got for now, but it's not without its problems. So what I want to talk to you about today is whether you should consider buying one of these, ideally second-hand or refurbished, because you can now get them for really good prices. But I'm going to tell you exactly what price you should buy it for in order to make this brilliant value for money. Stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the Google Pixel 6 Pro, and today we're going to talk about the things, first of all, that I'm not crazy about in regards to this device. So what I've seen a lot of reports regarding to this device are that it does heat up. Now, I experienced this to the extreme when I actually decided to record a video and use CapCut as a way to edit that video. So I was using the CapCut device app, and it really cooked up something else intensely. It was very hot. This was during the export phase, so it was actually exporting a 4K video, and it was about 8 minutes in duration, but it really heated up. Now, it did cool down afterwards, which was good, obviously, but it took about 10 minutes for it to get back down to temperature, and it was, when I say it was hot, these metal rims really were like hot to the touch, so I was kind of doing this and then decided to put it down, because I thought I'm going to leave it alone. Now, I have heard about this problem, so it clearly is still a problem, despite the fact that it has this Tensor chip, which is supposed to be an incredibly powerful SoC or system on chip. So, you know, that is a little bit disappointing, despite the fact that other devices, older devices, don't struggle quite as much. The rendering time as well was not extraordinary or particularly fast. That was very surprising. So I was very surprised to see it heat up, as well as with some gaming as well. It did heat up, but not to that extreme. Now, another thing that's very disappointing, the camera is good fun, and I'll talk about that in the second half of the video, but there is no macro camera. Now, obviously that's not always important, but if we look at my subject here, I can't really get up close and have it focus. Can you see that there? You can see in the shot there that you just can't quite focus on the closest leaf. You see, it can focus on the ones a bit further away, but the closest one, it just will not focus on. And I can go through the various different lenses. This wide angle lens is the one that's usually used for that purpose. It just doesn't work. And now we can zoom in. We've got that one there. I managed to get that in focus, but the closer I get to it, the more out of focus it goes. So obviously I'm using the 2x lens. That's 4x lens. I can't get any closer than that, or it becomes very blurred. So that's not a bad focal length, but to be honest, you really can't get a whatsoever. But something that does work really well is the portrait shot. So the portrait shot does work very well indeed. I've taken some great shots with this, both of my kids, who are obviously fast moving, hard to take photos of, so they can be a little bit scampish and moving about. So this thing will snap a shot pretty quickly, which I'm actually very pleased with. Night sight is just okay. I've used other devices that I feel are better. It's got the astrophotography feature, but I really couldn't get it to function properly, despite using a tripod as well. So it was kind of meh, not that great. Now, as the build quality goes, I have to say it is quite unique. It's a unique build. I do quite like the way this kind of grows on you, this camera bar, if you will. It's pretty extreme, with a lot of lenses, including the telephoto there. But I did obviously have to buy a case for it, so I did purchase a third-party case to protect the glass back, and this was very sufficient to do that. It was actually an excellent price as well. I'll put a link to that in the description. But the build quality is pretty good. You've obviously got the volume rocker and power button. I had to get used to the fact that the power button is above the volume rocker. I'm not used to that. But the edge of the panels here, and of course the fact that it falls off the side, I'm a fan. I do quite like that. So I'll talk more about that in my favorable side. But it is quite heavy. So it's quite a heavy device with obviously the battery. And it is quite wide. Now, I've got quite big hands, but definitely can't reach to the top without obviously doing a bit of jiu-jitsu here, a bit of throwing your arms about or so on. Now there is the minimize the screen option, but again, that is quite useful. So that's something that you can try to do if you wanted to reach more of the screen. Let's see if it engages with the phone. No, it doesn't. Okay, so that's fine. It's okay. I found it quite tricky to engage the one-handed mode, so I actually did it by accident numerous times. So yeah, it's a tricky phone to use because of its 6.7 size. But otherwise, it has been a good phone, and I'm going to grade it as a B- phone. So it's a good looking phone. It feels very nice in the hand, but it is not perfect. And I know that Google are looking to make some significant changes for the Pixel 7, soon to be released, which is exactly why I wanted to do my 1-year review of this Pixel 6 Pro. So now let's get into the favorable things and the things that I did like about it. Okay, let's talk about the good things in relation to the Pixel 6 Pro. Now, there are some key features. So let's talk about software, because Google, of course, is predominantly a software company, but this is their hardware and their software. So what does that mean? That basically means that they produce both the hardware, the actual physical device, as well as the chip inside it, which is only done by the real major players. And the software that then goes on that hardware is also built, of course, by Google, because it's Android, which is owned by Google. As a result of that, you get all the most advanced features that Android has to offer, and it is getting very, very good. In particular, one of the areas that I really enjoyed is the voice functions. Now, in order to activate voice, you can tap on any keyboard, and right here you actually have a fantastic little microphone which will then pick up everything that I say in real time, and it is very, very accurate. Actually, freakishly accurate. So it works really, really well for dictation, for messaging. I actually found myself, instead of typing messages, I found myself obviously dictating a message, and it would be 98% correct, if not 100% correct, including grammar and abbreviation. So if it had things like questions, it recognized that there was a question involved. If there was a comma needed, it wouldn't put a comma. Now, it didn't get every word correctly, because it might be that I was saying something, someone's name, in which case it might struggle with that if it didn't recognize the name. But otherwise, the software was really, really good, and that voice recognition is going to be highly utilized more and more in the future, as we know. So it is already an incredibly powerful software package. In terms of it being Android 13, which is the latest version of Android, these devices obviously are the ones that get it the absolute first out of everywhere in the world. It is a very iterative change from 12 to 13, and it really hasn't made a huge difference. One of the things I noticed the most are the toggles. The quick toggles here do look quite different, and some of them are more user-friendly. Others are, you have to kind of look behind something else. So for example, connections with your data connections and your internet connection, it's kind of 2 buttons away instead of 1. But you know, it's not the end of the world. It just takes a little bit longer. But otherwise, it's quick, it's snappy. One of the weaknesses of this device are the battery life. The battery life is a real problem. So the battery life on this device is a huge problem. It's got a good, decent sized battery in here, but it is not good at maintaining throughout the day. I'm currently at 20%. It's 5 o'clock. I've already plugged it in for about 10 minutes, and I'm only at 20%. I haven't done any filming or photography today. But I have watched a couple of YouTube videos, but nothing other than that. And it really is struggling to keep up. I've had this for more than a week already, and it's just not lasting throughout the day. So I'm always having to either put it on the wireless charging, which it does do, or obviously plug it in as well. So it's definitely a weakness and definitely could be improved upon. So the battery is a weakness, but because of availability of charging, it's not usually now the end of the world. But if you're going to go out on a full day and you're going out and about, you can need a charging pack probably, which is a bit daft in a 2022 device or 2021 device. So yeah, let's see if there's any improvement in the next iteration. So What I did want to talk about that I really do like is the camera function. So the camera function is pretty damn good. And there is some very serious functionality here in the camera. Now, what's weird is the wide-angle lens definitely seems less of a wide-angle lens than most other phones. For example, I'm using the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, and the wide-angle lens seems wider than this one is because it's a 0.6. This one is a 0.7. It's not that wide, but it's definitely wide enough for depending on what kind of things you want to take a picture of. The zoom for optical is up to 4 times. This is one of my graphical photos as a therapist. And then you can zoom in up to 20 times. So it makes the text there pretty crispy. So it is a pretty sharp zoom, but there is some pixelation coming in, obviously, once you get past around 8 times zoom. Now, the portrait photos are very good. I have to say I've taken some fantastic photos of my kids who are moving. The shutter speed is pretty fast, so I have been impressed with that. The motion function has been a bit gimmicky, to be honest. I haven't really used action pan or long exposure. They are fun, but they don't come to mind when you want to do it. And then, you know, it's not really that much of a practical thing. Night sight, I have used this at nighttime to take evening photos, and it definitely brushes up certain imagery really nicely. And again, it's photography that this device really excels at. This has probably got an A- camera for photography, but it's about a C+ for videography. So the videography is good, it's acceptable, but it's definitely not as good as things like iPhone yet, unfortunately. But it's on its way, it's definitely getting there, and Google are on the right path for sure. Now, the toggles are within somewhat reach at the bottom here, but then you've got a couple of other ones here that, you know, you'd have to use your other finger for, such as flash, or whether you want to record in 4K. You can't dial down any more than that. It's 1080p or 4K. You've got your frame rate, and then you have got speech enhancement as well, which is quite useful, particularly if the subject is within around 3 or 4 meters. It does pick up on the voice and tone out other surrounding sounds, which is quite clever as well. So that's quite useful. I'll be putting on some video footage to sample that as well. But I have been quite pleased with the camera, I have to say. Like I say, the imagery, the photography has been pretty strong, so I've been happy about that. Now, Android 13, the thing I would say that is most interesting about Android 13 is with the voice dictation, which is very cool. So here you've got this button here, which we're all fairly familiar with, especially if you use Google keyboard. But what you won't get is this coloring system here, where it is able to dictate everything that you say incredibly easily and very, very quickly. And if you ask a question like, what is your name? It should also come up with the punctuation correctly. There we go. It's already input the question mark. So it will continue to do that as I continue to go. So it is very, very cool. That software feature is really very cool. And I really do like that about Android 13. In that the voice functionality is really top-notch. There isn't anything better than it at the moment. And obviously, you've got the Google functionality here, as well as the Google Now page here as well, which is super cool and obviously brings you very personalized content as well. So it is obviously vanilla Android, and it's going to work really, really well. One of the things I do love about it are the updated wallpapers, in particular the live wallpapers. This is how you select them, and I really, really like the live wallpaper function here, which basically gives you animated or video wallpapers, but they're absolutely beautiful. They really are, and they're just incredibly picturesque, from ones like the lunar ones, which gives you accurate rotations around the moon, or the moon around the Earth. And then, of course, you've got this Earth one, which shows roughly where you are, and an accurate weather system as well. So that is really, really cool, very picturesque. And there's a possibility that that is utilizing quite a lot of battery, but it's a built-in software package, so it really shouldn't be something that is consuming all the battery. So definitely something that should definitely be adjusted and function well. Something I do like as well is the auto dim function. And you get extra dim. So at nighttime, instead of being blinded by the light and the blue light, you can hit the extra dim and it will tone down the nit level so that it is much less bright into your eyes, but also not affecting anyone that might be lying next to you. So it is pretty good. One of the main features I would find of Android 13 is these tiles are a little bit different, and getting into things like the connections is a bit more cumbersome, but it's not the end of the world and you get used to it very, very quickly. As I mentioned already, I do like the way that music player is handled as a widget. I like it really very much because it does have a very nice little widget there, so I'll just turn that down. But when you are on your screen, you can see here that you get a little squiggly line that you can scrub through very, very easily. You can obviously pause, you can repeat, or you can obviously send it to another connected device, such as a speaker or earphones, etc. And so it looks very good, and it color matches as well, obviously, the album art as well. So it's good, the software is good, it's always going to be good because it's Google Android, but Android 13 is not a huge difference from Android 12. It's just a slight iterative update, which is very good. So in conclusion, this device is worth having and worth getting if you can get it for less than 600 euros. And there are places you can do it, particularly if you buy secondhand or refurbished from Amazon Warehouse. I'll put links below, or from refurb.com. This device is from refurb.com or .es because I'm in Spain. And it does really work very, very well. And it's in perfect condition. You wouldn't know that it's secondhand. It came in the official box with all the official things as well. So you really wouldn't know any difference, and you get a much better price, and it is much better for the environment as well because you are simply recycling a perfectly valuable item. And if you can get it for a better price, it's worth it for less than 600. If you're paying more, you might be better off waiting for the Pixel 7, and if your budget can expand to that, because it probably will be more than 700 euros, then maybe wait for that. But otherwise, this device is definitely good. I'd give it a grade of about B-, which is good. The camera quality is good. The still photography is very good. The videography is okay, but there are definitely weaknesses, the battery being probably the biggest one of all. All right, but I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you put a comment below if you've got a Pixel 6 Pro. I'd love to know what your experience of it has been. What have you liked? What have you disliked? And obviously share this video with anyone who is also thinking about maybe buying one. Consider buying a second-hand or refurbished device. And of course, as always, make sure you like and subscribe to the video and hit that notification bell so that you'll notify every time I upload a video, which at the moment is every Wednesday and Saturday. So we're looking to go twice a week now. All right, so see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Peace.